I still remember the silence that filled the training hall before anyone threw the first move. It was not the silence of respect. It was the silence that comes before people enjoy watching someone be humiliated. Every eye in the room was fixed on one woman. They were waiting for her to fail. They believed her title, her fortune, and her black belt meant nothing once she stood in front of a stronger man. They had already decided the ending before the match had even begun. But they had no idea that the quietest person in the room was carrying the heaviest burden, and that true strength is often invisible until the moment it is tested. Isabella Hart was one of the richest women in the country. She owned technology companies, hospitals, and charities that changed thousands of lives. Newspapers called her the billionaire queen. Business magazines admired her sharp mind. Yet very few people knew the story behind her success. Long before the expensive suits, private jets, and boardrooms, Isabella had been a frightened little girl who watched her father lose everything after trusting the wrong people. Her family had fallen from wealth into poverty almost overnight. Friends disappeared. Relatives turned away. Classmates laughed at her old clothes and whispered that her family deserved their misery. Those memories never left her. Instead of becoming bitter, she made herself one promise. No one would ever be able to protect her better than she could protect herself. At the age of 12, she walked into a small Aikido dojo. The instructor looked at her tiny frame and asked if she was sure she wanted such difficult training. Isabella simply nodded. She rarely spoke, but her determination was louder than words. While other children trained for fun, Isabella trained because she believed discipline could save her life. Every fall, every bruise, and every painful lesson became another step toward rebuilding the confidence that the world had tried to steal from her. Years passed. She never missed practice. Rain or sunshine, success or failure, she appeared on the mat with the same calm expression. While others searched for shortcuts, Isabella trusted patience. Eventually she earned her black belt. Then another. Then another. Decades later, after countless hours of training, she achieved something that only a handful of martial artists in the world ever reached. She became an 8th Dan Aikido master. Yet she never spoke proudly about it. Most people around her had no idea how skilled she truly was. Isabella preferred it that way. She believed real strength never needed to announce itself. As her businesses grew larger, security became necessary. Investors insisted she hire the best protection available. After several interviews, one name appeared at the top of every recommendation. Ryan Cole, former military, national combat champion, nearly impossible to intimidate. His reputation was impressive, and so was his confidence. During their first meeting, Ryan looked around Isabella's office with quiet amusement. He expected another wealthy executive who depended completely on other people for protection. Isabella welcomed him politely and explained that she valued professionalism above everything else. Ryan nodded, but deep inside he underestimated her immediately. He saw a calm businesswoman, not a fighter. During the following months Ryan proved to be excellent at his job. He noticed danger before anyone else. He planned secure travel routes. He never left Isabella unprotected. She appreciated his dedication and treated him with respect. But little by little, Ryan's confidence slowly became arrogance. He often joked with the other security guards that wealthy people believed money could buy anything, even courage. Whenever he saw Isabella leave early for evening training, he smiled. Still doing those peaceful martial arts? He once asked. Isabella answered gently, every day. Ryan laughed. Aikido looks beautiful. But real fights don't work that way. Isabella simply smiled and walked toward her car. She never argued. The other guards joined Ryan's laughter. They believed exactly what he believed. Weeks later the company organized a family event at its private sports academy. Employees brought their spouses and children. There were games, demonstrations, and friendly competitions. One of the attractions was a martial arts exhibition. Ryan agreed to perform self-defense techniques for the audience. The demonstration impressed everyone. His strength, speed, and confidence earned loud applause. Afterward, one of the executives jokingly asked Isabella if she wanted to show a few Aikido movements too. Before she could answer, Ryan laughed loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear. Only if we don't mind watching slow-motion dancing. Several people laughed with him. Isabella remained silent. She thanked the executive but politely declined. She had never trained to entertain crowds. Later that afternoon, a little boy wandered away from the playground and accidentally entered one of the training halls. He watched students practicing throws with complete fascination. Isabella noticed him standing alone and quietly walked over. She knelt beside him and asked where his parents were. The little boy admitted he could not find them. Isabella stayed with him until an announcement located his worried mother. Before leaving, the child looked up at her and whispered, "Are you really a martial arts master?" Isabella smiled softly. "I'm still learning." The instructor who overheard the conversation laughed warmly. "She says that after more than 30 years of training." Ryan happened to hear those words. He looked surprised. 30 years. The instructor nodded proudly. "Master Isabella is one of the highest-ranked Aikido practitioners you'll ever meet." Ryan forced a smile, but inside he remained unconvinced. Experience meant little, he believed, if someone lacked physical power. A few days later several security guards gathered in the company gym after work. The conversation eventually turned toward martial arts. Ryan confidently explained that many traditional styles failed under real pressure. Someone mentioned Isabella's rank. Ryan shrugged. Belts don't stop punches. Unfortunately for him, Isabella entered the gym just as he finished speaking. The room became quiet. Ryan expected her to ignore the comment. Instead, she calmly walked toward the training mat. Her voice remained gentle. "Mr. Cole, would you be willing to help me answer a question?" Ryan folded his arms. "Of course." Isabella looked directly at him. "Let's have a friendly sparring session this Saturday. No winners. No losers. Just learning." The guards looked at one another with excitement. Ryan could hardly believe what he had heard. Then a confident smile spread across his face. "If that's what you want," he replied. He paused for a second before adding with a grin that made several people laugh, "Just don't cry afterward." Isabella neither frowned nor argued. She simply bowed her head politely and answered, "I'll see you on Saturday." As she quietly left the gym, most people believed they already knew exactly what would happen. They expected the billionaire to receive a painful lesson. They expected the bodyguard to prove that titles and reputation meant nothing against raw strength. Only one elderly janitor, who had spent years cleaning the dojo and watching thousands of hours of training, quietly smiled to himself. He looked toward the empty training mat and whispered under his breath, "The loudest confidence often disappears the fastest when it meets real discipline." Saturday arrived with clear skies, but inside the company's private dojo the atmosphere felt unusually heavy. Employees, executives, instructors, and even family members quietly filled the seats around the training area. Word had spread quickly. Everyone wanted to witness the billionaire challenge her own bodyguard. Some came out of curiosity. Others expected entertainment. Many secretly hoped to see Isabella embarrassed. Ryan entered first, wearing a confident smile. He greeted everyone with relaxed confidence, stretching his shoulders as if preparing for another routine demonstration. His fellow guards wished him luck, although none of them believed he would need it. A few even joked about how long the match would last. Some guessed less than 30 seconds. Isabella arrived several minutes later. She wore a simple white gi with a faded black belt that showed years of use. There were no expensive watches, no jewelry, no signs of wealth. She bowed respectfully to every instructor before stepping onto the mat. Her face remained calm. She looked exactly the same as she had during every business meeting. Quiet, humble, completely without ego. The chief instructor gathered both competitors in the center. "This is a friendly technical sparring session," he reminded everyone. "Respect comes before victory." Both nodded. Ryan smiled confidently. Isabella simply bowed. The signal was given. Ryan moved first. He circled carefully, testing the distance. Isabella remained relaxed, her breathing slow and steady. She did not attack. She only watched. Ryan smirked. "You can move first if you're nervous," he said loudly enough for the audience to hear. Isabella answered softly, "Please continue." The audience chuckled. Ryan suddenly rushed forward with surprising speed, reaching to control her shoulder. In one smooth motion Isabella stepped aside. She barely seemed to move. Ryan lost his balance for a split second before recovering. Some people thought she had simply been lucky. Ryan attacked again, this time faster. His grip reached toward her arm. Once again Isabella turned gently, guiding his own momentum away from her body. Without force, without anger, Ryan found himself stumbling several steps past her. The room became quieter. The smiles slowly faded. Ryan frowned. He had expected resistance, not emptiness. He increased the pressure. Attack after attack followed. Every movement was stronger than the last. Yet each time Isabella remained patient. She neither rushed nor tried to overpower him. She simply redirected his strength as though she had already seen every movement before it happened. Minutes passed. Sweat began to appear on Ryan's forehead. Isabella's breathing hardly changed. The elderly janitor watched from the corner with a knowing smile. Finally Ryan lost his patience completely. Determined to prove his point, he launched his fastest attack of the day. In a single elegant movement Isabella stepped off the line, controlled his wrist, turned her body, and guided him through a perfectly timed projection. Ryan landed safely but firmly on the mat. The entire dojo froze. Nobody applauded. Nobody spoke. Ryan stared at the ceiling in complete disbelief. He had not been struck. He had not been overpowered. He had simply been guided exactly where Isabella wanted him to go. She immediately stepped back and respectfully bowed. "Thank you," she said. Ryan slowly stood. Embarrassment burned across his face. For the first time in years he realized he had mistaken confidence for understanding. The instructor asked whether they wished to continue. Ryan nodded silently. The second round began. This time he attacked with greater caution. Isabella continued to move with the same quiet precision. Every technique protected both of them. Every throw ended safely. She never tried to humiliate him. She never celebrated a successful movement. She treated him as a training partner, not an opponent. By the end of the session everyone understood what true mastery looked like. It was not loud. It was not angry. It did not need to prove itself. When the final bow ended, the room erupted into applause. Not because Ryan had lost, but because they had witnessed something far greater than victory. They had witnessed discipline built over decades. Ryan walked toward Isabella with lowered eyes. For several long seconds he said nothing. Then he bowed deeply. "I owe you an apology," he said honestly. "I judged you without knowing you. I confused kindness with weakness." Isabella returned the bow. "We all keep learning," she answered. "That includes me." Her words surprised him even more than her techniques. She had every reason to embarrass him in front of everyone. Instead, she protected his dignity exactly as carefully as she had protected him during every throw. After the crowd began leaving, the little boy from the company event ran across the dojo carrying his small teddy bear. He looked up at Isabella with shining eyes. "Did you win?" he asked. Isabella smiled warmly and knelt beside him. "Today everyone learned something. That is much better than winning." The boy thought for a moment before smiling back. "Then I want to learn too." Isabella gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "Never stop." Those simple words stayed with Ryan long after the dojo emptied. Over the following weeks he changed in ways that surprised everyone. He no longer mocked other martial arts. He listened more than he spoke. During security training he encouraged younger guards instead of showing off. One evening he quietly approached Isabella after work. "Would you allow me to attend one of your Aikido classes?" he asked. Isabella smiled. "Only if you promise to arrive as a student, not as a champion." Ryan nodded immediately. "I understand now." Months passed. The bodyguard who once believed strength belonged only to powerful muscles slowly discovered another kind of strength. He learned patience. He learned humility. Most importantly, he learned that real confidence never needed an audience. At the company's annual awards ceremony, the chairman invited Isabella onto the stage. Everyone expected another speech about business success. Instead, she spoke only for a few minutes. "People often admire power," she said calmly. "But power without humility eventually destroys itself. Skill without kindness becomes arrogance. Success without respect becomes loneliness. Never judge someone by appearance, age, or quiet behavior. The strongest person in the room is often the one who speaks the least." The audience stood in silence before breaking into heartfelt applause. Ryan was the first person to stand. This time his respect was genuine. Years later, employees still talked about that sparring session. Not because a billionaire defeated her bodyguard, but because one quiet woman changed an arrogant man's heart without anger, revenge, or humiliation. Sometimes justice does not arrive through punishment. Sometimes it arrives when patience quietly reveals the truth, and those who once laughed become the first to admit they were wrong. And that is why the greatest masters are remembered not for how many people they defeated, but for how many lives they changed with calm hands, humble hearts, and the courage to remain kind even when the world expected them to fight with pride.